don't have to have a whole lot of motor units. These are very fine-tuned, okay? These are very awkward and bulky, but requires quite a few more motor units involved. So, in the movements that get made, if I can recruit more motor units, all right, that movement, it would be like adding this one, adding this one, adding this one, adding. When you do addition, what do?
Add.
You sum.
Oh.
You get the sum of your numbers. So they summate. Okay? Because I added and I added and I added and I added. And I got the sum of all those motor units. The sum of all those motor units, once we get to the point of threshold, contraction takes place no matter what. That's the all or none principle. Because you get it to threshold, no matter how much you try, you are not stopping that muscle contraction. So, the stimuli that we get, stimulus can be strong. Now, with a stimulus, right now, I'm just thinking about moving. I'm just thinking about it. But the more I think about it, I'm going to get it to do it. Okay? So when we talk about the stimulus, stimuli ranges. Stimuli ranges from nothing. It can actually be so minimal that you don't even have any contraction out of it whatsoever, to the point where the stimulus can be painful. Ever had a painful stimuli? I know which one I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about that thing they put on my leg after I had my surgery, and it was so strong that it was, because you know, I didn't know this. I really didn't. That like with knee surgery, your quad muscle shuts down. You have to wake it back up. And it's not a simple matter of you just sitting there and thinking, okay, move, because it don't. I mean, I was sitting there and they were saying, you know, contract it. I couldn't do anything. So they put that thing on me, and I can't remember the name of it. Okay, well, it's not a TENS unit. It's a different one.
The little electrodes?
The little electrodes. NM&J or something.
I thought it was called E-stim.
I don't know. It's got some, no, I know it's got N in it somewhere. Or maybe they've changed the name. But it stimulates so deep that it's painful. And they hand you, they put the little electrodes on you, and they hand you the machine, and they start turning it up and turning it up, and you're sitting there and you're watching your muscle contract. It's really cool, okay? You're not making it do it, okay? The little machine is, but it's kind of cool, you know? But, you know, they're sitting there and they're going, okay, every contraction or every so many contractions, increase the stimulus. And so you have to sit there and you have to increase it, and you have to increase it to a point where it's painful. But it is really cool though, because you're watching your muscle wake back up. And stimuli ranges, okay? We can have stimuli, doesn't do anything, but there's still a stimulus coming in, okay? We can have the threshold, the one that causes a muscle contraction. We can have stronger than threshold. But the problem about a stronger than threshold, the contraction can only equal what's given out at threshold. Meaning, you can continue to apply a stimulus, but it doesn't matter. The muscle is only going to respond at the point that it would respond at threshold. When it can't respond, when the contraction is strong and it's contained and it's sustained, that's when it'll go into tetany. And the contraction can become painful.
Can you change the threshold? Like, a lot of people go to the gym and they get stronger muscles and
Yes.
different work.
Once again, that higher order thinking comes in, and what they're doing is it's a training. All right? Just like they say, it's a training. Now, cool thing about it is, when we think about that, training, yes, we can think of or equate it with our skeletal muscles. Because we'll think about going to the gym, for example. And we think about, okay, well, this week I'm going to do this amount of weight. Next week I'm going to bump it up to this, and so forth. What else is muscle in the body? We don't just have skeletal muscle. Smooth and cardiac. Do you not train your heart also? Yes. Okay, it's really kind of cool. So if we think about this increasing strength of a stimulus, okay, we're going to say that a contraction is graded. And I don't mean A, B, C, D. Graded means we can start out where whatever that stimulus is, that's not causing anything to happen. That stimulus can continue. If that stimulus continues, we can get to threshold. If it still continues, we can reach a little bit above threshold. If it gets to a point where the stimulus is still continuing and continues and continues and continues, the only response that the muscle can give is the amount that was given at the point of its highest contraction. So at this point, at the highest contraction, even though the stimulus is continuing, it cannot surpass for the contraction strength. Okay? So that's going to be a very strong contraction. You can continue to give it the stimulus, but it's not going to contract any harder, any stronger. So we say that the contractions can be graded. They can have the stimulus be continuously applied, the reaction by the muscle, because it's continuously being stimulated, will only give a maximum even though stimulus is still coming in. So, when we get the stimulus, the more motor units that can be recruited. Because if it's coming in weak here, but the stimulus continues, that incorporates more motor units, more motor units, more motor units, more motor units. So I'm adding, I'm recruiting those motor units, and the more of those motor units I can recruit, they're going to summate. But they will summate to the force that that muscle can give. they can't go any further. But that'll make the muscle continue in that contraction. That can be painful.
So when a kid's learning how to walk, are they adding more motor units on?
It's not so much that they'll be adding more motor units, because your number of muscles that you have, what you're born with is what you got. So that means the innervation is already there. The only thing that it can do now is grow, okay? So when they're learning to walk, what they're actually doing is they're training the muscles. Mhm. Not only is it a training of the skeletal muscle, it's the use of a cognitive behavioral movement.
So it's like muscle memory when you learn to play the guitar?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because the brain is going to be registering the movement. It's going to register every fall, okay, until it gets to the point that it perfects the walking. And once we have that trained, you don't have to think about it anymore, unless you get ready to make a conscious movement. Unless you're getting ready to walk across the floor when I say, go take a break, back at 12:30.